Hello, cats and kittens. Odewa Jose Yoroshiku, and welcome back to the Crisis Corner. It's been a long time since I did a movie review, so I figured I might as well get started back on doing those. And I'm going to choose Wonder Woman 1984 as my starting point because there hasn't been a whole lot of movies out since the pandemic that I really want to review. So, Wonder Woman 1984. Uh, I thought it was all right. I thought it was cool. I know a lot of people had issues with it. I had a few issues with it, but some of it's nitpicking and some of it's maybe too high expectations. Because Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman was pretty good. It was very good, actually. But let's get into specifics. I mean, I got my notes. Um, Start with the opening scene. I thought the opening scene was actually excellent and well executed. I know people had issues with maybe it ran too long or whatever, but I thought it was well done. The only problem I had was the payoff wasn't nearly as impactful as I thought it would be. Young Diana cheating to win that, or attempting to cheat to win that competition is fine. Kids try to get away with stuff all the time, so be it. You would assume that the payoff would be that Diana and her, as grown Diana, would also try to cheat to get what she wants and have to reflect on that lesson. But she didn't actually cheat, is my problem. Yes, she did have to give up what she wanted, which was Steve, who, came back from the dead. We get into that Steve business later, but she did have to give up what she wanted, but she didn't cheat to get it. She didn't deliberately wish Steve back to life. It was an accident, honestly. I would have preferred that she actually wished him back to life and then have to give him up. That would have been more spot on in terms of the correlation between the opening scene and her current life. And that wouldn't even have been that hard to pull off, really. Just have her wish him back, for instance, from the instant before his plane blew up, thinking that, mission accomplished anyway, he didn't have to die. I just wish him back into my, wish that he came from that point in time to this point in time. Boom, he's there. You can do whatever you want to do. Then when she has to send him back, she's actually sending the man back to his death. To renege on, not renege, but to cancel her wish, she would actually have to send him back to his death, which would be extremely painful, not only to lose him, but know that you're sending him back to die. Boom, heartache, whatever. That's where I'm at with it, Okay, so the correlation between the opening scene and the payoff to me didn't really work that well, but whatever. In terms of Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot, she owns the role as far as I'm concerned. She pulls it off. I love her Diana Prince. I love her Wonder Woman. She has the elegance and the fighting ability and all of that. She checks all the boxes on the character. That's her character right now. Linda Carter passed that on to her, and that's it. That she's got it on lock. Maybe 20 years from now, somebody else will be able to play it better, but whatever. Right now, that's her. So I loved her portrayal, spot on, no issues there whatsoever. Another nitpick was her activities. First of all, why I said 1984, I'm not sure, but whatever. It's 1984. But she's not supposed to be known to the world. She's keeping on the down low and really hasn't come back into the world until the present DCU, if it's even the present DCU. My issue is I would have preferred that she be doing her business on the down low for real, not really in her costume until she had to be. Because the mall scene, as cute as it was, it doesn't really make sense because malls are bright, open places where everybody can see you. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, if she was back at her apartment, when she was at the Watergate, she's staying at the Watergate, And the mall that she saved, broke up the jewel robbery, to me seemed to be Pentagon City, but I could be wrong. It seemed like Pentagon City. So that means she would have monitored the robbery from the Watergate, ran to Pentagon City, put on a costume, go to Pentagon City, break it up, and then come back. Unless she was already in the mall at the time, which kind of makes it worse. That means that she had her costume on, however she changes into it. She changed into her costume, broke up the robbery, and going about her business, telling people don't say nothing. That doesn't make sense. If there's any way she could have broke it up, because she's not the Flash. She's not fast enough to move without being seen, you know, and that's obvious. Okay, little stuff like pulling people away from being run over by runaway cars, you could do that in your street clothes. So she could accomplish a lot of that stuff in her street clothes, maintain the idea that she wanted to stay off of the radar. And to be honest with you, that stuff at the mall, she would have just had to let slide, you know, for the sake of, maintaining her cover. But it was a good set piece, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, that's a nitpick. Let me see what else. The stuff like the origin of the invisible jet was fan service and actually didn't make any sense. I mean, her powers are broken at this point. I mean, she's completely OP. I mean, superhuman strength, flight, whatever. The ability to turn stuff invisible. Come on, what else can she do? She's straight sorceress at this point. You know what I mean? So, but like again, it was fan service. I didn't need to know the origin of the invisible jet. I mean, I didn't really care. But they brought it in there. They did that. Fine, whatever. What else here? We have um, Steve Trevor. Now, his involvement in the story is problematic for a few reasons. The ramifications of him being brought back into some other dude's body has been well documented by fans and critics alike. Again, I would have just pulled him out of the past into the present. You're dealing with the same dude. She want to sleep with him, fine, whatever. That's their business. But using some dude's body to get your jollies is, I wouldn't do it. That's not what I would have done. But whatever. The bit about flying a jet from, now I'm not. I will admit to you, I am not an aviator or know nothing about aviation in the strictest terms. But a fighter jet flying from DC to Cairo, I don't think so. I mean, it just happened to be a fully fueled fighter jet that was at a museum, the Air and Space Museum, I think it was, just being fully fueled, ready on the runway. Hey, look, suspension of disbelief, that's fine. But the fact that it can go from DC to Cairo, I challenge that. If I'm wrong, you let me know. If it can do it, fine, that's right. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? But if you're talking about a passenger plane, I got you. A fighter jet, fuel, crossing over, getting to Cairo, I ain't, nah. Okay, but aside from that, Steve Trevor, you know, aside from being in some other dude's body, which is kind of gross in some respects, fine, whatever. And the actor, acting wise, Steve was fine. Maxwell Lord, I thought he was okay. That's just some people, Pedro Pascal, he did a good job. And I like the idea that it was a guy that was in over his head that got swallowed up in trying to be successful, took it way too far. Only thing with him is I wouldn't have gave him that little redemption bit at the end with his son, and changing his, going back to being a baby face after the heel turn. I'd have just left him out there as a villain, sent him to jail, future villain, you ruined everything. I'll have my revenge type situation. That's why I'd have left him. I mean, sometimes people get caught up in it, they go too far and they stay there. So I would have. That's the only real problem I have with Maxwell Lord. I liked his fall, because to me he wasn't a bad guy until he just started. He wigged out. You know what I'm saying? He took it too far. He got what he wanted, and then he couldn't take his foot off the gas, and it snowballed on him until the point where he was actually doing like evil stuff. You know, but yeah, I enjoyed Maxwell Lord. The subplot with his son was fine with me if he stayed a villain, because in that case he would have just fell off and lost his son's love or whatever, and that just be the moral of the story. But the redemption thing, I didn't really think that helped too much, and it made it kind of ham-fisted and corny at the end. There's that. Barbara Minerva, Kristen Wiig, I think did a great job with what she had, and I don't want to really sound mean about saying, and putting it that way with what she had. The character, the whole klutz nerdish type character thing is kind of hacked, kind of played. We've seen it too many times before. I would have preferred for her to be not so much awkward, but maybe have some kind of social phobia or some kind of actual social issue, extreme recluse or something like that, rather than just being awkward. You know what I'm saying? Be awkward for a reason. I think that would have worked a little bit better. And have her admire Diana from afar because of her, just that grace, that, the ability to deal with people from her perception better than she could. And really, that would just be perception because Diana doesn't want to form attachments at this point. She's just putting on this, not a charade, but she deals with people as best she can and doesn't let them in. Now, from Barbara's perspective, she could just see that as being very, you know, outgoing. And like she said, she even stated, I thought you were outgoing and fun and all the things that I'm not. But I would have preferred Barbara to not want to attach herself to Diana so much as just admiring her from afar in their work relationship, bringing them together out of necessity, say like to investigate the stone itself. And they'd be thrown together under that, and then Diana kind of taking pity on her, or just seeing that she needed help, and then they bond on that. It would have took more time to develop because the development of their friendship to me was a little too quick. It just happened, boom, boom. So I would have preferred that to the route that they went, but maybe that's a nitpick. There's a lot of man bashing in there, which was kind of obvious. The scene where she's coming to work and she drops her papers and nobody helps her, to me was kind of unrealistic because people don't really act like that. I mean, she was at her job. How many people would see their coworker, even if they didn't really like them that much, in that type of distress and walk by them, and not just walk by them, look at her with disdain? Because the dude stepped past her and was kind of like, looked at her like she was like the crap on the bottom of your shoe and then walked off. Women didn't even try to help her. Man or women didn't try to help her. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of weird, and then you got the thing where, dude tries to either rape or just sexually harass her for whatever reason. I guess that, yeah, it happens. I mean, I'm not a woman, so I can't say, but it was a bit of man bashing in that. That's why I would prefer, I would prefer her to have a social disorder of some sort and work under that premise more than the sexual element where the heels, walking in heels and all of that stuff, gaining confidence through these weird little whatever's whatever. uh, yeah, I could live without that. I would have liked a better reason for her not being socially accepted, and the stuff about, dudes, treating women like either dirt or sex objects on call, kind of like it was. But I guess the point was made. I mean, men are scum, so whatever. But that's just my perspective. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it. You can look at it differently. Okay, so there's that. The plot overall suffered from a breakdown in the third act, which is common to comic movies. I come to expect it now, so I'm not really, necessarily crushed when it happens. But the Cheetah Wonder Woman fight should have been epic. It wasn't. It was almost hard to watch. As a matter of fact, it was barely watchable because it was shot dark. I wasn't a huge fan of Cheetah's visual. She didn't really look like a cheetah. Yeah, they kind of missed on that. And I would have liked their fight to have taken more out of Diana, because the resolution of the movie was not physical in terms of getting people to rescind their wishes, which is fine. The physical part of the resolution could be separate from the philosophical resolution, or whatever you want to call it. So you could have had her have a knockdown, drag out with Cheetah, then do the thing with the lasso to get people to rescind their wishes, and then that's it. Because really, a non-violent resolution to issues, it kind of is in her bag, in Wonder Woman's bag, especially if you had already thrown in the physical aspect, because she has that thing, that warrior of peace, the peaceful warrior type dichotomy thing going on. So you could satisfy both sides of that and get your resolution. It didn't work on the physical side. I wasn't really that mad at the whole thing with using the lasso to indirectly get people to rescind their wishes. There's a bit out there, but I wasn't terribly mad at that. The ramifications of the wishes being rescinded and not have any ramifications in history is odd, weird, and straight up nonsensical. Because all kind of stuff happened. The world was at the brink of war. Unless you had a complete reset, like the Superman spinning the world backwards, and you go back to point A, and nobody ever found the stone or something like that, and you just reset it and people went back to normal. If you did that, I got you. But a lot of stuff went down, man. People was getting shot. Some people died, no doubt. All that happened, and current DCU, nobody's talking about it, and nobody knew that she existed. Okay, but aside from that, final verdict, I enjoyed it. It was like a mid-tier MCU movie, like the first Thor or the second Ant-Man. It was alright. It was alright. I was entertained. It had cool bits, but on the whole, it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. It was alright. It was alright. If it's on a 5-star scale, 2.5, I guess. Gal probably could have brought it up to a 3 with her performance, but in other aspects dragged it back down to a 2.5. So that's where I'm at on Wonder Woman 1984. Was alright. Hopefully they'll do better on the next one. So that's it from the Crisis Critics Corner. That's cool. So that's it from here, and I'll pick another flick and review that ASAP. Thank you for watching this. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm out. Stay loose.